To win the Liga, Barcelona will need to be perfect. We have to assume that Real Madrid will win every game, and so that means Barca will need to show up for Sevilla and Atletico, but also for games like today in Leganés. Playing at the Camp Nou in front of what I would say was a pretty nice collection of virtual fans, Leganés didn't go with a best 11. Not that they could have anyway. We all know the Braithwaite storyline, but Leganés had also sent Youssef En-Nesyri to Sevilla in January, and Oscar Rodriguez, the attacking midfielder turned do-everything forward after the other two departed, was suspended. Kevin Rodriguez and Guido Carrillo, regular fixtures in the starting 11, both started the match on the bench. The big stat going in, Roque Mesa was the only Leganés starter with a goal this season, and it was one goal. For Barcelona, having just played Mallorca on Saturday and with Sevilla on Friday, I wouldn't say anything was too shocking. Ansu Fati got a start, Junior Firpo came in for the suspended Jordi Alba, Artur and Ivan Rakitic, both subs against Mallorca, got the start, and Clement Lenglet returned from suspension. The tactics of this match were pretty straightforward, and something Messi and company have seen for the last 15 years. Leganés set up in a low block in a 5-4-1, and you could call it a 5-3-2 in attack, but that didn't happen often, with Barcelona controlling 75% of the possession. Against the parked bus of Leganés, it should be noted that Barca pressed a bit more than they did against Mallorca, which again makes sense based on the difference in opposition tactics. Yet it should be noted that the second game back from a long layoff was physically going to be harder on the players, even with numerous changes. Against the five at the back, Barca would need to be patient, but also precise, which didn't really happen in that first half. It took Junior Firpo and Ansu Fati some time to find the match, which is not a big surprise either, due to Firpo only getting a few minutes against Mallorca and Fati getting his first game after the layoff. I found it a bright sign to see Messi find Firpo over the top of the defense in just the third minute on that Jordi Alba-esque run in behind. Unfortunately, we didn't see too much of that on the evening. It's not so much a knock on Artur or even Rakitic because they faced different challenges than Frankie de Jong and Arturo Vidal did against Mallorca, but the ball wasn't moving fast enough, and while the players were positioning themselves to use the whole width of the field, they weren't capitalizing on that space to put themselves in a good spot to score. To deal with the additional bodies of the opposition in the middle of the field, Rakitic was often too far away from Sergio Roberto to free up the right back with some quick passing, and Roberto's inability to beat a defender one-on-one on the dribble left him stranded on the right side. If not for Clement Lenglet, who was Barca's best player through the first 30 minutes of the match, Barcelona would have been down 1-0. I don't want to blame the malaise on any one player though. Again, legs were much heavier this match. The squad was being rotated and the opponent was parking the bus. However, it was still clear that this 11 doesn't complement each other very well. With Griezmann again trying to play the false 9, but now without the room to come back and check to the ball due to the midfield wall in front of that back 5, it felt like Fati and Griezmann were miles apart. The Frenchman didn't get the service, and it's even more worrying that he only had 5 touches in the first half, and not a single pass to Messi. In the midfield, the lack of a midfielder who makes vertical runs was glaring. Artur attempted to make those runs a few times, but a little more quickness would have been helpful. Rakitic, meanwhile, tried to put his fingerprint on the match with balls over the top, but either timing was off or the ball wasn't good enough. Due to Leganés' tactics and a lack of match sharpness of the two midfielders that were supposed to be aiding the attack, Barcelona weren't switching the ball enough and the ball wasn't doing the work. Okay, so I think I got the negativity out of the way, and I think this is the point to talk about the goals. The first goal was pretty simple, honestly. The gravitational pull of Messi on opponents is the main catalyst here. Barca went with an overload on the left side, and Sergio Busquets got higher up the field than he had for much of the match, and found Messi with a fast-paced ball that broke that line of 4. Leganés did an admirable job keeping bodies around and on him through the match, but for once, they left Messi with too much space. By the time two defenders reacted, Messi had already turned and played through Firpo. Firpo ran through a tackle, used his balance to stay on his feet through contact, and fed Fati for the finish. 5 goals now on the year for Fati, and as I've been saying for weeks on the podcast, if he hadn't played another minute this season, it would have been a memorable season for the 17-year-old. Another goal only adds to the impressive debut campaign. As a reminder that he's still a teenager, it should be noted that he shook off any nervousness after the goal, and Messi's header attempt comes from the dribble by Fati that forced the defense to take him a little more seriously. There's much less to talk about in the second half, for better or worse. From all the Liga matches I've watched since football returned, the 5 subs are necessary fitness-wise, particularly in that Spanish summer heat, but it does affect the flow of the game. All that said, once it started to become clear that Messi probably wouldn't be coming out, he took control of the match with a sparkling run through Leganés. He won the ball in midfield, nutmegged the defender, beat 2 more, refusing to go down, played a 1-2 with his buddy Luis Suarez, then got dragged down in the box. There were many calls, including from Leganés, that it wasn't a penalty, arguing that all the actions leading up to the penalty were the fouls, but not the collision in the box. VAR had the chance to reverse it, but the penalty stood, and Messi left no doubt. Remember when he struggled from the spot? The last talking point to hit here is the 20 minutes or so of Riqui Puig, who came on for Artur in the 73rd minute. More than anything, I was excited to see him get to play with the regulars instead of the bench crew and other Barca B players in the Copa del Rey. His 80th minute run that won a free kick was the kind of run that shows his intelligence and positional awareness, and his youthful desire to press was only equaled late by the number 10, who was still pressing in the final minutes of the match. Motivated Messi. He lost the ball 33 times today, but I don't care too much because it looked like Messi had some issues finding the match once again for the second straight time, and Messi will continue to carry Barcelona to the Liga title if he keeps up this intensity. As for Puig, people will break down every touch to the point of overkill, but I'll just say that it was nice to see him, and hopefully he gets 1 or 2 more 20-minute cameos this season, so that he has the confidence of his teammates heading into next year, where we should expect that he'll have a larger role. Going 5 points clear of Real Madrid with Sevilla on the horizon was all that mattered in this match. It may worry you that Messi played the full 90, but I assure you he can pay for the best treatment possible, and he has had more rest than he's had in a decade. Barcelona will look uglier against opponents that want to park the bus. That's how it's been forever. So I wouldn't say that this is the way that Barca play, or bring up Ernesto Valverde, or say that Quique Setién and this whole era is a wash. The match against Sevilla should be a good one. Until then, though, give us a like and subscribe, and while this match review wasn't as comprehensive as the one against Mallorca, positive feedback, likes, and sharing with your Barca friends is a good way to get me to do more. So until next time, Forza Barca.